Look around for long enough, and life can feel like a dice roll. Headlines, conflicts, betrayals, sudden luck, sudden loss, randomness everywhere. But here's the uncomfortable question. What if it only looks random because we're missing the rules? When we interpret the world as chaos, something quietly breaks inside us. We start living like spectators, watching events happen, reacting, complaining, hoping the next wave doesn't hit too hard. And that mindset breeds a heavy kind of hopelessness. If everything is chance, then my choices don't matter. But the deeper you look, the more another story appears, one where outcomes aren't accidents, but consequences. Not every cause is visible, not every effect is immediate, but that doesn't mean there's no structure. Reality behaves less like a lottery and more like a system. Inputs, feedback, consequences, sometimes delayed, sometimes amplified. Many of the world's problems don't come from bad luck. They come from patterns, ignoring consequences, refusing responsibility, trading long-term stability for short-term reward, and slowly losing our inner compass of right and wrong. Call them principles, call them natural laws, call them basic reality constraints. Whatever name you choose, they shape what happens next. Think of natural laws like invisible rails. A train can speed up, slow down, paint itself gold, claim it's above the tracks, but it still has to follow the rails. You can't negotiate with gravity. You can't lie to biology forever. You can't build a society on mistrust and expect it to feel safe. When people violate how reality works, psychologically, socially, ethically, there's a price. Sometimes the price arrives quietly. Sometimes it arrives as chaos. And the invitation here isn't bend the universe to your will. It's learn the pattern and align with it. A civilization, at its best, is supposed to be a vehicle for collective progress, something that raises the baseline of human well-being. But look at what happens when ambition becomes obsession. We get hypnotized by the individual scoreboard. More status, more advantage, more wins. And personal integrity gets demoted, quietly, until it's just a background detail. Yet the real legacy of a civilization isn't its technology or its towers. It's whether it can protect and uplift the people living inside it. If we want to remember who we are, individually and collectively, there's a word that keeps returning like a compass needle: integrity. Not as a slogan, not as performance. Integrity as alignment, values and actions matching, even when nobody is watching. In uncertain times, the old question returns: what am I supposed to do with my life? Some people find comfort in imagining an afterlife where the weight of this world simply dissolves. But another possibility is more demanding and more empowering, that life is not a brief flicker, but a long arc of learning. If existence is a journey of development, then choices matter deeply. Actions ripple outward, not just socially, but internally. They shape your character, your perception, your future. Purpose begins to look less like a single destination and more like a discipline, becoming someone who can carry truth, clarity, and responsibility. Now let's talk about fear. Fear can feel like an enemy living in the air, something stalking us from the shadows of the unknown. But what if fear isn't woven into the universe as some inevitable curse? What if much of fear is manufactured by misinterpretation? When you strip fear down to its core, it often grows from a tangle of false stories, imagined enemies, unseen forces against you, narratives that convince you you're powerless. And here's the hard shift. Freedom often begins when you stop outsourcing blame. Not because the world is always fair, no, but because the moment you reclaim agency, you stop feeding the cycle that fear thrives on. Look inward, honestly, and you find a key: not denial, not escapism, ownership. Imagine there is a foundational principle beneath everything. Call it God, life, consciousness, infinite mind, or simply the whole. In that view, separation is a perspective, not the final truth. But we don't arrive here fully aware of unity. We arrive confused, reactive, half asleep. So the task becomes gradual awakening, step by step, through choice, through virtue, through refining perception. And this is where ancient traditions use the word purification, not as moral superiority, as clarity work. Purification doesn't have to mean ritual, it can mean practice, cleaning up what you consume, strengthening your body, calming your nervous system, watching your impulses, becoming less ruled by addiction, distraction, and resentment. Because the clearer the instrument, the cleaner the signal. Across history, people tried to translate deeper principles into human rules. Ancient law codes, like the Code of Hammurabi, were framed as something higher than preference. Whether you view that as divine, philosophical, or cultural, the point is this: humans sense there are consequences beyond opinion. That stable societies require alignment with something real: truth, reciprocity, responsibility, restraint. When laws, personal or societal, reflect reality, life tends to become more workable. When laws drift into falsehood, corruption, and denial, suffering spreads. History repeats a familiar pattern: the hunger for power, the attempt to control others, the belief that domination equals greatness. And again, it fails. Because reality doesn't bend forever. The deeper victory isn't conquest, it's self-mastery. And this is the hope. Even ignorance can be transformed. Even mistakes can be alchemized into wisdom if we stop pretending we're powerless. So if the world feels chaotic, don't ask only, "What's wrong out there?" Also ask, "What principle did I ignore? What consequence did I refuse to see? What truth am I ready to practice today?" This is Luminex Mind. And if you want clarity, don't demand the universe change. Change your alignment and watch the pattern reveal itself. Imagined enemies, unseen forces against you, narratives that convince you you're powerless. And here's the hard shift. Freedom often begins when you stop outsourcing blame. Not because the world is always fair, no, but because the moment you reclaim agency, you stop feeding the cycle that fear thrives on. Look inward, honestly, and you find a key. Not denial, not escapism, ownership.